Welcome to a deep dive where we really try to unpack layers of information.
Get right to the core insights. That's the aim.
Absolutely. So today we're exploring something pretty fundamental.
Mhm.
What does it mean to be embodied?
Mhm.
We've got some really interesting source material, chapter excerpts, a case study, some research findings too.
Yeah, it's a great collection. It really connects our inner world, our parts and self with our physical selves in ways we often, well, maybe just don't think about enough.
Exactly. And that's our mission for this deep dive. Why is connecting physically so crucial? How do parts of us maybe keep us disconnected?
hmm
And what happens when we actually start listening, properly listening to our bodies, all through the lens of this material?
It's about moving from just like having a body to
Yeah.
really living inside it, being
Yeah.
present within it.
I like that. Living with it. Okay, let's unpack this then, starting right at the beginning.
Mm.
In this context, what is embodiment?
Well, the sources tie it really closely to our internal system,
Yeah.
specifically when what they call self, that core of calm, curiosity, confidence is present.
Okay.
And the other parts, the inner parts, start to trust it.
Trust the self.
Yeah. And when that happens, you naturally start feeling sensations, emotions more fully
Right.
in your body.
So it's not just thinking about it, it's a felt thing, an actual physical experience.
Precisely. And with that sensitivity comes, well, better feedback. The sources say you get much better at hearing what your body's telling you.
Okay.
And that's practical stuff. Like you start to know intuitively which foods feel right, which activities energize you.
Or drain you.
Or drain you, exactly. And you actually change your behavior because you feel it. You feel the body's yes or no much more clearly.
Right. It's not just an idea anymore. It's undeniable feedback, data.
hmm And another thing they mention is that when self is there, trusted, the parts carrying old pain, the exiles,
Yeah.
they don't have to hijack the body to get your attention anymore or use pain to punish you for ignoring them.
Because they have a direct line.
They can communicate directly with self, which is, a massive shift.
So the body stops being the battleground
Yeah,
or the emergency flare.
exactly. And this view, it's interesting, it contrasts with some traditions that might see the body as, I don't know, an obstacle.
Or something to transcend, maybe.
Yeah. But here, the sources frame it more like a sacred temple. It's essential. It's where self lives and interacts with everything. It deserves respect, attention.
A sacred temple.
Right.
That really changes the perspective, doesn't it?
It really does. And the goal in the model these sources reference, like IFS.
Internal family systems.
Right. The goal is increasing access to self, becoming more connected, balanced inside. But, and this is key, the sources stress that self needs the body to operate fully.
Needs it. How so?
To function properly in your inner world and the outer world. Self needs to be embodied, grounded.
So embodiment isn't just like a nice side effect of healing.
Yeah.
It's actually necessary for self to lead effectively.
That's the core argument, yeah. Without self fully present in the body, you're just not operating at full capacity, internally or externally.
Got it. Okay, so if being embodied is so important, why are so many of us, disconnected? What are the big reasons for this disembodiment?
Trauma. That's number one on the list, according to these sources.
Okay.
When something traumatic happens, protective parts react instantly. Their job is to keep you safe, and sometimes that means pushing self out of the body.
To create distance.
Exactly. It's that dissociative experience many survivors describe, watching things happen from outside, maybe even from above.
That's a protector part trying to shield the core self from unbearable pain.
Precisely. And often those protectors kind of get frozen back there in that moment.
Still thinking the danger is happening.
Yeah, believing you're still that young, vulnerable age. So they keep resisting attempts to re-embody because they genuinely think they're protecting that young part from danger right now.
Wow. So disembodiment becomes this, stuck protective strategy from the past.
It does. And the sources also talk about the burdens from trauma. They can feel like dense energy inside.
Physically dense.
Yeah, like they literally take up space, making it feel harder to fully inhabit your body. So that contributes to living less embodied, and it limits self-leadership.
Right, because you can't lead fully if you're not fully present in your own physical space.
And another big reason protectors keep you disembodied is to limit contact with the exiles.
The parts holding the pain and fear.
Exactly. If you're kind of numb or dissociated or just stuck up in your head.
You don't feel their difficult emotions as intensely.
Right. Protectors are terrified that if you fully embody, you'll feel too much. They think it'll overwhelm you, just like it might have back then.
So disembodiment is like a buffer zone they maintain.
That's a good way to put it, yeah. a key strategy to stop you getting triggered. And, protectors also resist embodiment because, maybe unconsciously, they know that when self is fully present,
They lose control.
they lose some of the power they've held. They built a system where they were in charge because they didn't think self could handle it.
That paints such a clear picture of that inner conflict. Okay, so we have these protectors, managers trying to control, firefighters reacting. How do they actually use the body or impact it day to day, even when things seem calm?
Yeah, this is really fascinating because the sources suggest parts stay kind of frozen in these roles. Like managers, right? They're always trying to control things, keep exiles contained. They often carry a lot of fear. And that fear can show up as chronic muscle tension.
Whereabouts?
Common places are the back, shoulders, forehead, jaw. It's tension directly linked to that effort of controlling appearance, behavior, feelings, containing those exiles.
So that nagging knot in your shoulder.
Yeah.
It could actually be a manager part working overtime.
It's a definite possibility raised by the sources, yeah. They also talk about managers in people with abuse histories, sometimes developing intense dislike, even hatred for their bodies.
Hating their own bodies. Wow.
Blaming the body for having needs, for being vulnerable, for maybe being a target. So these parts might try to numb the body out, or try to make it sexually unattractive or invisible, or even encourage things like starvation as a way to control needs through the body.
That's, wow, heartbreaking. The body becomes the scapegoat for the protector's own pain or shame.
It shows how deep that internal wounding can go. Then you've got the firefighters.
The reactive ones.
Right. Some are described as adrenaline junkies, always looking for activities that flood the system with hormones to distract or numb.
Like the football example in the sources.
Exactly. That connects to the author's personal story.
Right. He talked about being small for football, playing defense, getting hit hard.
Yes. It's a really powerful illustration. He linked the rage he felt on the field back to his father.
His father, who had PTSD from WWII, from rehydrating Dutch house survivor.
Yes, undiagnosed PTSD, which came out in these terrifying rages during childhood spanking. So the author describes this rageful firefighter part taking over in games.
Letting him just unleash.
Yeah, run full tilt into bigger guys, get concussions, but barely feel the physical impact until later.
So he was using the sport, that physical impact, as an outlet for that firefighter's rage.
Pretty much. He talks about the addictive mix, the power, the adrenaline, the rage release, and the praise he got for it.
The validation.
Exactly. For an inner part feeling worthless from those childhood experiences, it made the weak little boy feel strong, powerful, alive. He even notes years later, still feeling that urge sometimes, that desire to just run into someone.
Shows how deep those patterns run.
It really does. And his father, having other side's kindness, research made the rage even more confusing as a kid.
Yeah, a very complex picture of how trauma echoes physically through these parts.
And the sources mention other firefighters, too. Ones they call lazier, maybe using drugs or food for a similar numbing effect.
Okay.
And sexual firefighters get highlighted, flooding the system with hormones like testosterone.
To distract.
To distract from exile, pain, shame, terror, desperation. The person might just think, oh, I just have a really high sex drive.
Without realizing it's a protective part working hard underneath.
Exactly, trying to keep deeper pain out of awareness. Now, the sources also bring up something pretty stark.
Okay.
When parts feel they absolutely cannot get through to you directly, maybe you're too defended, too numb.
Too busy.
Too busy, yeah. They might escalate. They might actually target vital organs or systems.
Seriously, to get attention.
To get attention, or sometimes out of sheer desperation or anger, almost like punishing you. If you won't listen to their inner voice, what else can they do?
So things like nightmares, flashbacks.
Panic attacks, yes. Or, significantly worse physical problem, actual physical issues.
It's like the body is the absolute last resort for a part that's desperate to be heard.
Or maybe acting out its own pain onto the body. And the sources suggest parts seem weirdly aware of our genetic weak spots.
Like they know our predispositions.
Yeah, like they have access to a control panel and can push our physical buttons. They use asthma as an example.
Okay.
Physical triggers exist, sure. But a part feeling unheard or trapped might potentially use that genetic vulnerability to trigger an attack.
Wow. That's a challenging idea. That a medical symptom could have such a direct inner component.
According to the sources, yeah. Many chronic symptoms can apparently be worsened or even kicked off by parts that feel ignored.
And the more you ignore them,
The worse the symptoms can get. The sources even say when you refuse to listen, you risk turning your parts into inner terrorists.
inner terrorists, that's intense. It really conveys the desperation.
Mm-hmm. And there's a critique here, too, suggesting that sometimes the medical system focuses only on the symptom.
Like killing the messenger.
Kind of, yeah, without helping understand the message the part is trying to send through the body.
Highlighting the potential gap if we only look at the physical. Okay, this is a lot to absorb, but the sources provide some really strong evidence, don't they? We talked about the author's story, but there's the RA study too.
Yes, rheumatoid arthritis. Published in the Journal of Rheumatology, they had RA patients, serious joint pain, inflammation.
Right.
One group used this inner work approach, focusing on the pain, getting curious, asking questions. The other group got standard educational classes.
And when the first group asked the pain questions, what did they find?
They started hearing messages, internal messages linked to the pain. Parts using the pain were saying things like,
Like what?
"You never take care of yourself," or "We're going to cripple you if you keep this up," even "We'll keep doing this until you listen to us."
So the pain wasn't just random noise, it was carrying a message, an intention.
That's what they found. And as that group listened and, importantly, negotiated with their caretaking parts to actually change behaviors,
Right.
make space for self-care,
Their physical symptoms improved.
significantly improved. Measured by doctors who didn't know which group was which, some patients even went into complete remission.
Wow. Complete remission from RA. Just by engaging with the inner parts using the pain.
It's pretty stunning evidence for this connection.
Truly extraordinary. A powerful, real-world example. And the sources also give that case study, TJ.
Yes, the session excerpt with TJ. A medic, 40s, chronic low back pain for 17 years.
Since a car accident when she was pregnant. Doctor said arthritis, right? Pain stopped her doing things she loved, like triathlons, weight gain, shame, feeling betrayed by her body.
Right, and she came in wondering, could this pain have psychological roots? Is it trying to tell me something?
And initially, just anger at the pain.
Yeah, totally understandable. But then, as she explored, protectors popped up, a fear part first.
Afraid of what?
Afraid of uncovering unbearable trauma, thinking she was still too young to cope. Just acknowledging her real age helped settle it a bit. Then came a big, mean critic part.
Ah, the inner critic. Always fun. What was its job?
It was harsh, calling her lazy, fat, ugly, disgusting, but its intention.
To motivate her.
Yeah, to keep her in shape, keep her working. It was terrified she'd become like 300 pounds, jobless, worthless otherwise. It thought shaming was the only way.
Even though it wasn't working.
Right. It even admitted the shaming made her eat worse. But it was open to trying something else, which is huge, shows protectors can be reasoned with.
That willingness is key. But there were other parts blocking things too.
Yes, when she tried to get to the anger underneath, a blocker part emerged.
What did that do?
Terrified the anger would be ugly takeover. It wanted to keep things blank or just describe the anger from a safe distance like it's a scary monster. Shows those layers of protection we build.
So many parts just trying to keep overwhelming feelings contained.
It's common with trauma history, but by asking those scared parts to just step aside for a moment, she could approach the core anger with curiosity.
And the anger was behind bars initially.
Yeah, perceived that way, needed permission. And the key was staying with the feeling, the physical sensation, even the shaking. The turning point was explicitly allowing the anger, saying, "It's okay, you have a right to be here." Then she felt this urge
To scream.
to stand up and scream, and she did. Let out all that stuck rage from the time of the accident.
Must have been a huge release. What did she realize afterwards?
That the anger felt stuck, it needed to be heard, it wanted her to use her voice, a voice that felt silenced. And she knew deep down that was right. Then they identified other parts stuck back in that accident scene: fear, pain, anger, even a pleasing part.
And she could help them leave that scene.
Offer them a safe place, yeah. Let them know they didn't have to stay stuck there. They were skeptical at first.
Understandably.
Right, which became another piece of work, helping parts trust she would take care of them, use her voice. But in that moment, they were ready to release the old feelings, the old beliefs.
And then they wanted to party.
Apparently, felt lighter. And she invited in qualities she needed going forward: courage, connection, freedom, voice.
And how did the protectors react?
They showed delight, according to the transcript. Creativity wanted to come back too. It shows how protectors transform when self leads and exiles heal.
Okay, but the million-dollar question. The back pain.
She checked in. Her words were, "There is no back pain right now."
Wow. After 17 years, just gone.
In that moment, yes, it points to how physical pain can hold that emotional charge. TJ realized those stuck parts were involved. They needed her to listen.
Right.
The anger part's final plea was intense. Don't fucking minimize it anymore.
Not nice, but felt true.
Exactly. And she apologized for minimizing, committed to keep working with the parts that did that, left feeling lighter, amazed.
And the follow-up. Did it last?
A year later, pain hadn't returned because she kept doing the work. It's just such a powerful story of how listening inside can change things physically.
It really is a stunning example. And it makes sense then why sometimes those standard healthy solutions, why they don't always stick.
The sources touch on this directly. Exercise, diet, meditation, sleep, obviously good things.
Yeah, we know they're beneficial.
But if your inner parts aren't fully on board, if they don't trust self's leadership, they can sabotage everything.
Right. You try to force yourself to the gym, but a part hates your body. Or you try to eat healthy, but a firefighter needs junk food to numb out.
Exactly. It's an internal battle overriding the external effort. Medication gets mentioned too.
How so?
That it can reduce symptoms, often because it has a kind of disembodying effect. Calms the system down, less feeling overall.
Which quiets the firefighters.
Potentially, yes. And the sources acknowledge medication can be super helpful, even necessary when things are overwhelming. But deeper inner work, which needs self-embodied and feeling, can be harder if sensation is significantly dampened.
That makes sense. Harder to connect inward if you're numbed out.
And meditation, too. It can be really embodying.
Connect you deeper.
Or protectors, especially managers, can use it to disembody further, create a calm state that just bypasses the exile pain underneath.
So you have to check in with your system. Is this practice helping me connect or helping me avoid?
Well, that's the suggestion. Always listen inward. But the hopeful part is that once exiles heal and self is leading from that embodied place, those healthy habits, they become naturally enjoyable.
Not a chore anymore.
Right. Protectors shift roles. They trust self in the driver's seat. They go from being dictators or saboteurs to being helpers. Supportive.
The whole internal energy shifts.
Yeah.
It's not a fight anymore. So, okay, how do we actually start this practice? Listening to the body.
The sources suggest seeing symptoms, tensions, any physical discomfort as sensate trailheads.
Trailheads, like
Yeah.
starting points for exploration.
Exactly. Points to begin focusing inward. And crucially, they stress this isn't about blame. Like, oh, I'm doing this to myself.
Right, avoid the self-shaming.
Yeah. It's often a small, maybe young or desperate part that doesn't even realize the wider impact it's having. Just giving it attention can sometimes be enough.
So, approach with curiosity, not judgment.
Absolutely. Notice the sensation, quietly, without trying to fix it immediately. Then maybe inwardly ask.
Ask the sensation itself, or the part using it.
Either way, ask questions like, what do you want me to know?
Or maybe, what are you afraid would happen if you didn't do this?
Or, why do you feel you have to use my body like this? Why can't you tell me directly?
And the key one, what do you need from me so you don't have to do this anymore?
Yes. And maybe you get a clear answer, maybe just a feeling, an image, maybe nothing right away. The practice is just paying attention when the sensation arises. What's the message for you?
That completely reframes it, doesn't it? From symptom as problem to symptom as communication.
It opens up a whole different way of relating to our bodies and ourselves.
So wrapping this up, what's the big takeaway here? This deep dive really seems to suggest our physical experience and our inner world are just deeply, intricately linked.
Yeah, inseparable, really.
And these physical things, symptoms, discomforts, they might not be just random. They could be messages from parts of us needing attention, needing healing.
It's a call to really integrate mind and body in how we think about health and well-being.
Definitely. So maybe the next time some ache or pain shows up persistently, instead of only thinking about how to get rid of it, pause and wonder, okay, what might this messenger be trying to tell me? What's the message hidden in this physical feeling?
And consider this thought the sources leave us with. If your body really is a temple, who or what part of you is trying to speak from within its walls right now? And maybe more importantly, are you ready to listen?